ChrisDaGoat, he has a podcast, yeah. ChrisDaGoat, it's called The Goat Man Show. He's a Capricorn hippie, banjo-loving hillbilly. He lives in Missouri. It's The Goat Man Show, yeah.
You are listening to The Goat Man Show with ChrisDaGoat, a podcast about nothing in particular. Goat Man coming on air in 3, 2, 1.
What is going on, kiddos? This is ChrisDaGoat, and you are listening to The Goat Man Show. Today we're going to talk about what is the difference between being woke and being awake. In the United States of America, we are seeing a woke tidal wave that is not good for our nation. It's not good for our politics. It's not good for our getting along with everybody. It's not good for our unity. Because anybody who preaches separation is just fucking wrong. That's not going to solve the problem. It's a hypocrisy is what it is. Any person that can look at me, and I'm going to use white people as an example because I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now and where I'm at right now because I'm white. So if you look at a white man and you say, oh, you don't have the right to say anything or do anything or have an opinion because you're white, you guys are trying to say that's not racist. But if I turn around and say somebody doesn't have the right to do something based off of whatever, God forbid it be color, that's going to be the end of the world, and I'm going to be attacked and drawn and quartered. That's the world we're in, and it's hypocrisy, and it's bullshit. Because if I have to be accepting and understanding, and I need to, go by all these different things that you're demanding I go by, you better do the same fucking thing. I don't realize what kind of a pre-socialist movement we're in that you kids think that, you can just get your way and say whatever you want and demand what you want and it's going to happen. It's fucking terrorism, basically. It's not going to happen. If you're not going to give me the respect of being a human and you're not going to treat me with some sort of dignity, what the fuck makes you think it's going to come back? Now, I try hard as an individual myself to try to give that respect, but that's the exact mindset that this world has. If you're going to treat me the way you want, why the hell would I give you the time of day and try to be nice back to you? And it's a very valid point. And that's what people are going to continue to do. So before we get too much into it today, I found this article from swinlawrence.com, and it's called 10 Reasons Not to Date Woke Women If You Want to Be Successful in Life. So I don't know for sure if I would go, as far as to say that you would be unsuccessful. But I definitely think that if you choose to live the woke life, you are not really doing near as much as you're trying to do. You're not moving forward with actually making a difference. You're trying to join on a train of acceptance and social ignorance, and basically you're just wanting to be a lemur following the rest of them to do whatever it is they do. People don't want to think for themselves anymore. People don't want to take the time to have an unpopular opinion or, to speak the facts and to make it just very blatant and very just out there on what's going on. Again, I'm not trying to pick fights, but if it's fucking stupid what you're trying to say and it's just filled with hypocrisy, I'm absolutely not going to, just lay down and accept any request that anybody makes whenever they can, in their brains do what they want to do, and I have to do what they want to do, but I never win. That's not how this works at all. So I'm just going to scroll through this article and read a few of the pieces that comes out of it so we can discuss exactly what Swin Lawrence has the opinion on and kind of see where we're at. So the very first thing is triumphantly posts on social media that she has just signed an online petition. That's very true. And that's one thing that I notice about people that are woke is they always want to talk about what they have done to contribute to the movement, what they have done to make good in the social industry of whatever it is specifically that they're talking about. It's all about social media. It's all about these TikToks. It's all about the appearance that they care. Oh, we all need to take a knee and raise a fist in support of Black Lives Matter. What good is taking a knee going to do for Black Lives Matter? You need to actually make litigation and go to court and make laws that prohibit any sort of mis and representation of people of color when it comes to businesses, when it comes to legal actions, when it comes to police interactions, whatever it is. Why aren't we taking actual steps? If you genuinely feel there is such a racist problem in this country, and you genuinely feel that it is so embedded that we can't function without having, systematic and detrimental racism, then why aren't we trying to make litigation to change that? There's small stupid things people are doing, and they're trying to say that that they're making a difference because at the end of the day, um, everything goes around what you believe, and everything goes around what you want people to see, and it's all about hashtag. Let's sit on our asses and not actually physically do anything. Let's just talk about how there's injustices, and I'm going to talk about how I'm white, that I'm guilty for those injustices, or I must be responsible for allowing them to continue. I mean, it's like a giant game of guilt. It's a giant game of follow the leader. It's a giant game of look at me, I have friends and an opinion. You know, I haven't noticed very many organizations that have gotten together to actually try to do something uh, good than just sit there and try to shut down people whenever they try to whenever you go to a woke person, they're going to try to demonize everything. They're going to try to make something evil everything. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're going to find a way to put words into it to make it out to be just disgusting and despicable and hateful, and just make up these horrible situations and things and try to put it on people that are innocent to it. And that's the opposite of being awake. When people are awake, I think that they're smart enough to realize that we're systematically being fed these things to try to keep us divided. Because here's the reality, and you're not going to believe it, and you're going to say, I'm a racist, and you can go fuck yourself with a rubber hose as far as you can fit it. If we cannot be united as men and women, as Homo sapiens, as people, not people of color, not people of certain interests, not people of religions, people, humans. If we all can't stand together as humans, we're never going to see eye to eye enough to make productive change. So what they do is they feed us these systematic racisms. They highlight certain things on the news to make us feel like racism is still such a problem, that black people can't succeed, that Mexican people can't succeed, that Asian people can't succeed. You listen to the news and you believe for a second that we are still in a horrifying, just disgusting time that the world has had, and our country has had, but not for the better part of 100 years. I think there is still racism that we're going to face, and we're never going to get away from it. But I don't feel for a second that we are so bad today that we cannot work together. But the way the media tells you, oh, God forbid, if you voted for Trump, you're a Nazi, and if you didn't, you're Antifa. It's the extremes that we face are so ridiculous. The whole fucking world is going woke. I mean, that's just what it is. So I want to get a little more into exactly what woke is. So we're going to actually look into a little bit of the article. So on one of the pieces he talks about is woke girls have no sense of humor. This point is particular ironic to write. After all, it used to be conservatives who were supposed to be the stuffy ones. In a twist of fate, the situation has turned by 180 degrees. And then let's see if he actually... being woke has always been a byword for being "quote unquote" politically correct. But see, there's I don't necessarily agree with that. There's levels. Being politically correct is when you're trying to be respectful. You don't intend to offend anybody. Being woke is the fucking radical end of that. Being woke is whenever you basically demand people's heads if they're not politically correct. Like, that's a whole nother level. And then it continues with fewer people remember or know of this, but the very term political correct started as a joke term in the 1970s. Today, it is aimed at protecting anyone and everyone from feeling offended by anything and everything. Offending and pointing at inconvenient truths is at the heart of comedy. However, this collides with the woke world's constant offense seeking for the sake of feigning outrage and virtue signaling moral superiority. So, a lot of comedians are catching insane backlash about stuff because everybody wants to be so offended about stuff. I hate to break this to you, but in this world, if you're not exposed to death, when you lose your first family member, it's going to destroy you. If you're not exposed to disaster and travesty, if you have a storm system that moves through your city that destroys a third of it, it's going to destroy you. You have to be open-minded and realize the world is a shitty, horrible, evil place. And if you're not prepared to accept that, you're going to be lost in this reality of your own ignorance, sub-reality. It's not. It's imagination, where everything's going to be perfect and okay, and you're always going to get your way. And I hate to break it to you, but that's never going to be the way this world works, ever. Not for the woke crowd, not for the awakened crowd, nobody. You're never always going to get your way, and that's just the way it works. So whenever you try to force people to acknowledge the fact that you deserve your way, that's hypocrisy, and it's not going to happen. And unfortunately, it's just not. On comedy, yes, it's been ruined, man. You can't listen to any of the classics. We have Yucko the Clown. He fucking cracks my shit up. Louis C.K., Bill Burr. That's probably a fair list of some of the more offensive comedians, and it's stuff that when we hear, yes, it is kind of a shock to the system, but that's the mission of comedy, is to keep these certain things alive and to look at them in a subjective way to where if we can laugh about things, it's not going to be near as offensive. So if we can eliminate the fact that racism is even a thing through continuations of jokes and actually shedding humor on it instead of trying to seek revenge for it, in a way, we're taking a lot of the sting out of the words once they're said. So we're really conditioning, in my view, we're conditioning the people and the public in a positive way to understand that there's always going to be people that can poke fun at something. So if anything negative happens, there's the good possibility that we're going to be able to make it funny again. And I think that's a positive thing. But of course, everybody just wants to shut down all these different comedians and different people who try to continue forward and make the world a better place. It's just it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how people, whether it be a comedian or whether it be somebody just with a kind hearts trying to spread the truth or trying to remind people, of reality, that they just get tore down and destroyed. Cancel culture and woke culture go hand to hand. So another one off of Swin Lawrence is, don't get dragged into the pitiful double life of woke hypocrites. And that's exactly what I was just talking about. So people are always going to move with their herds, especially whenever it gets into acceptance. So if one of their friends starts saying, "Oh, my neighbor, he gave his kid a piñata, and they're not from Mexico, so it's cultural appropriation," and then they start posting the people's address on Facebook and their phone number and pictures of the family, and starts, this is a hypothetical situation. I hope it hasn't happened to anybody, but this is some of the shit that happens. Everything's posted about this person online, and then the family has other issues they have to face. To a woke individual, this is fine because you are doing yourself a positive message by actually putting out there who is and who isn't doing what they're supposed to do. So you're telling on somebody for doing what they do in the privacy of their own fucking property, which if you have a pinata and you're not Mexican, it doesn't mean cultural appropriation. It's stupid. It's a fucking thing you put candy in and beat the shit out of, and you have sugary goodness. How can you sit there and say that that's being racist? Aside from the fact of ignorance, we're going to get back into the reality of now. Things like this happen to people, and it ruins their lives, and it's all because somebody wants an apology for somebody else that's not even their, for the most part, when I say this, not even their race. So you as a white lady, which is what most of them are, because for whatever reason, white women hijack movements. White women, stop hijacking movements. If you're going to sit here and say me as a white man has no right, okay, let me repeat that. Me as a white man has no right to stand up for anybody else or to bitch about the condition of this country. And you're going to consistently blame me and different ones like me for being the problem. Stop hijacking fucking movements. Straight up. But anyway, I don't understand that, how some reason white women are the most fluid creatures. They can just absorb and attach themselves to any organism and leech to it. And then continue to move forward with them. Now, I love white women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and say I hate anybody. I'm a hippie. I love everybody as much as I can until they make me, for a personal reason, not like them, for whether what they believe or what they have done, not for what they look like or what they smell like. But you can't sit there and tell me for a second that white women don't get involved in stuff that they're not supposed to more often than they do, just for whatever reason, because it's like overwhelming guilt or whatever the chance may be. So one of the other pieces of the article I've been reading as we've talking, and that one, don't get dragged into the pitiful double life of woke hypocrisy, is one trend that has, okay, well, actually, I should probably give you just a little bit more. Social media. So we're talking about social media and how people, and exactly what I said, always that self-righteous thing, always wanting to, talk about all the different things, shaming people for flying, shaming people for whatever the case is, just, being a bitch or a dick. The best thing about social media is that few things stay hidden anymore. During the past few years, the public has learned about the real face of our virtue signaling politicians and celebrities. Their stock prices are in free fall, which is good because, it's always good that there's these people that go through and will find different hypocrisies. I don't think that it's good to call out every single person, but if you are a media voice or a media face, or you are a influencer, blogger, podcaster, whatever the case is, you are going to be held to more scrutiny because you have an audience. You're actually producing a certain environment and a certain joie out into the world. So people are going to listen more and they're going to tear that apart. I do agree with the fact that people like, say you are a celebrity and you're super hypocritical or you're woke, and somebody finds, like one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube's Zeducation with Tyler Zed, because he does a segment on there, things that didn't age well. And he'll go through and he'll actually find very specific examples of something that somebody has said at one point, and then either years later, month later, a week later, however long, goes back and sees the opposite of what they said. When it comes to stuff like that, and individuals like that, like Tyler, that do that, that's very, very respectful, because you are proving that there is hypocrisy out there in the world. If you want to talk about positive change, doing things like that shows you cannot trust a politician. Doing things like that shows fuck a politician. Doing things like that shows that they're going to tell you what you want to hear and continue on doing what they want to do, because they're not there for you. They're not there for me. They're there for their own pockets to push their own agendas so that their parties, plans, or whatever are going to move forward. So whenever you expose things about the hypocrisy, especially celebrities, because all these woke people just worship the ground they walk on for the most part, I think it's a very, very positive thing that people do that, but I don't think it's a very positive thing when people go to the next level and try to oust you and try to, I don't even know the best word for it. Whenever you go and try to destroy somebody's life based off of something online, and then you go and get their family involved and shit like that, that's not cool. But when you point out the fact that they are lying and they're hypocrites, and you make it very professional, very subtle, and very accurate, then you're going to do more harm for their reputation than they could ever do for themselves, because you're showing a lot of the audience that listens to them and respects them that they're not getting that accurate of information. Also, another thing that the woke crowd will not do is admit that women and men make a perfect team. Biologically and genetically, we need each other to reproduce. You have to have sperm. You have to have a man or the product of a man to create life and create a child naturally. Let's read one of these things real quick before we go take our first break. Appreciating the men and women make for a perfect team. So when it comes to building a career, in this part he puts, or Swin Lawrence puts, building your career, there is a lot to be said in favor of having someone backing you up in your endeavors in all the ways that a healthy relationship can do. Obviously, girl power doesn't require that. She'll break that glass ceiling all by herself. After all, there are gender quotas nowadays to achieve that for her, regardless of her qualifications or effort. So, or having company, having company in the evening, her 3 cats will take care of that. Oh, Jesus. So, all right. I don't know about the, about the gender inequality on a significant level. Ever since I've worked, I have always worked usually under a female boss. My current career, there's a female general manager, and the company hierarchy they're up, a lot of the leadership positions are filled by females. I don't feel personally that a female is not going to be able to do the same things that a man will. But at the same time, I don't see a reason why men can't work with women, women can't work with men. I feel like we have to understand that we work together. One's not better than the other. I think there's things that men are better at. I think there's things women are better at. But I feel like we need to work together. It's not the necessity. We don't have to have each other, but we are made for each other. So why wouldn't we find a way to mesh? See, I think a lot of what, and whether it comes from women's rights or black rights or trans rights or whatever rights you're talking about, people have separated themselves so much that at the end of the day, they don't realize that they're human beings, and we all have to rely on one another, because there is no majority anymore. There is no majority rules. So we have all these subcategories of different sexual preferences, religious practices, so on and so forth. We all have to work together to make something happen. You have to have a majority of people work together to make something happen. But we separated ourselves so much that we're no longer in that situation. So I ask you on something to think about. What makes more sense? To continue to divide and to show everybody all these subcategories and all these little things to look at. Oh, I'm a, asexual transvestite. I don't even know anymore of the terms. There's a lot of different things that could go with that. Trying to be so specific of an individual, and you demand that people accept that, understand it, and you demand the respect for wanting to have a less than popular opinion for the general public? Or do we try to look past individual fitting in and try to look at all of us as a broader spectrum as humans and work together to not judge, to not be racist, to not be shitty and hateful, but to work together to solve all these issues? One of those two is going to be the right way, and I don't feel it's the first. I don't feel by me saying I'm a white man that believes that, whatever the case may be or isn't, you have to accept that and you have to follow certain guidelines. Who the fuck am I? Who the fuck am I to tell you you have to do anything for me? It's a free fucking world. You do what you want to do. I think you all need to realize that. Nobody has the right to command any other person to do it. So instead of us demanding one another to do stuff, we need to do stuff together and work on it. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this break.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break to digest whatever that was. And And we're back. Chris is done headbutting his studio wall to establish his dominance.
Welcome back, guys. This is ChrisDaGoat. You are on the Goat Man Show. We just finished up talking about how humans need to be humans to one another, and we need to stop so many subcategories, or at least in my opinion. I'm going to finish up on that real quick. So basically, where I'm at is if you are a transvestite person or a gay person, or you have an alternative lifestyle choice that is not seen by the mainstream media as being a positive thing or an accepted thing, I think your best bet is to try to educate people in a non-in-your-face way. And if they don't accept it, realize that we don't really accept taboo things very easily. We're just now at a time in the world where, Japan just agreed to accept that tattoos are legal to be performed in public. We live in a world where if you have a piercing or tattoos, that you worship Satan. And, we're still very much a closed-minded group of individuals when you come to America and you look at Americans. We're the melting pot of the world. We've always been around multiple different kinds of people, but for whatever reason, we've had an intolerance a lot. Or I think it's just that the old ways of thinking from the old world, which is in every country. I don't think it's just here. People talk about these racisms and these different problems, and what we have to do is we have to be smart enough to realize those things don't make us who we are. And those things don't carry on today as they may have back in the past. So we have to move forward and continue on looking at things, how we want to see them in the future, how we want to see them change. My personal opinion, humanity is the very first way that we're going to be able to do that. We have to look at each other as humans. Quit making these subcategories. It's not left and right. It's not red and blue. It's not, necessarily male and female. It's what's good for one should be good for everybody, and that's just in general rights, freedoms, different abilities. Any person of color has the same exact amount of right to stand up and speak out against injustice as I do, a white person. I don't think there should be any other justifications. There shouldn't be any differences. We're not white people and black people. We're not, left and right. We're not Christians and Catholics or Jews and Muslims, whatever the case may be. We got to stop looking so much as, oh, I have to look out for me and my own. Your own is what bleeds red on the inside, which is all humanity. We all have to be there together, and we all have to be awake, and we all have to realize that the more subcategories that we create and the more we demand other people to make these decisions and to stand up and to protest these different injustices and actually just scream and not hit any active words, that's just going to cause more problems because it's causing more separation. You can't be mad at somebody because they don't see the value in your movement. You can't hate somebody because they don't understand how you can see a perfectly acceptable way to live your life. You can't continue to be mad at people because they don't understand exactly what you understand. And that's the problem, is people attack and try to shut down other things. It's insane, just people anymore, if they don't agree, their whole objective is to just erase you from the face of the planet because they think that they can destroy what they can't agree with. That's some socialism, and I know that's what you guys want, but I don't think you've accurately understood how horrible socialism has been on humanity or what it would do. So we went to Merriam-Webster. We're on a dictionary, and we're going to look up a little bit about what woke means. Woke is increasingly used as a byword for social awareness. It doesn't actually give me the definition on here, though. It just kind of like a little article about it, I guess. So, stay woke became a word in parts of the black community for those who were self-aware, questioning the dominant Oh, why'd you give me French? I can't speak that. All right, hold on. Let me read forward a little bit so I don't seem stupid. Correct. So I knew that. Yeah, that followed the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, which is a subdivision or a section of St. Louis. It's actually a ways away from where I'm at, but it is in the same state. So I do remember hearing about that. So whenever and I agree with this. So the word woke became entwined in the Black Lives Matter movement. Instead of being just a word that signaled awareness to injustice or radical tension, it became a word of action. Activists were woke and called on others to stay woke. So whenever it first happened, yes, it wasn't a bad thing like it is today. It was people saying, look, I can see that, black people are being killed more than white people by police. I can see that in certain areas, certain things seem like they're happening, in one way versus the other. That's not at all where we're at today. You're telling me that I have to, I saw this fucking kid show, and they called it a queer kid show, and it was teaching children about transvestites, which, I personally don't agree with. Kids are kids. They don't need to be learning about straight sexuality, nevertheless, gay sexuality. Kids don't need to be exposed to sexuality. Kids aren't ready for that shit. That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother show we'll get into. I don't want to get too far off topic. But children don't understand sexuality. And if they do decide to play a boy when they're a girl or a girl when they're a boy, I think we can all pretty much agree, other than the very radicals, that it's dress up. And that's a fairly normal part. I was put in a dress and clip-on earrings and high heels by my sisters when I was 3 or 4. It didn't change anything about me when I grew up, but it's something that happens. That's a natural thing. Pretending that you're somebody else. But it's when you embrace that and it goes too far, which is indoctrinated to get into children. Anyway, the whole point is, there was a show that I saw, again, that talks about just indoctrinating children into understanding what it is and saying, oh, well, if you decide that you feel like a boy and you're a girl, then you really are a boy. Good God. There's people that are grown-ass adults that go through the transition and go through these decision-making processes and regret it for the rest of their lives. How are you going to sit there and tell a child what your preference is for him? Your kid doesn't know what he's going to do for after nap time, for 24 hours. Your kid doesn't know what he wants to eat other than macaroni. How the fuck are you going to sit there and give them the responsibility of choosing what their sexuality is going to be that they're not even going to feel for another 10, 15 years? It just blows me away. Fucking blows me away. So what we're at today, it's not black culture anymore. It's so what it talks in here. Let's see how accurate this is. Like many other terms from black culture that have been taken into the mainstream, woke is gaining broader uses. It's now seeing use as an adjective to refer to places where woke people commune. Woke Twitter is very recently taken off. Okay, so woke feels a little bit like Macklemore rapping in one of his latest tracks about how his whiteness makes his rap music more acceptable to other white people. The conundrum is built in. When white people aspire to get points for consciousness, they walk right into the crosshairs between allyship and appropriation. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I listen to rap, and I love all different artists. Of course, I love Eminem, but I think that anybody, especially black people, would respect him as well. I like Logic. It really doesn't matter what kind of music I like necessarily. I love some Pac. I love some Snoop Dogg. I have a very, very eclectic mix of music, but I don't feel that, I don't know, everything's got to be appropriation anymore. Just because you're white, you're going to tell somebody, oh, you're white, you can't do something a black man does. Or, oh, you're black, you can't do something a white man does. You're basically putting us in a white fountain, black fountain situation, except for you're doing it without physically doing, but you're doing it in a moral sense to where, oh, well, white people can't do the same thing as black people. We can't be on the same level. We can't share the same talents. We can't share the same hobbies. We can't share the same views. That's what you're doing, is you're turning people away from each other and turning it into oh, well, instead of us being, together and us being united and us being the same thing, all you're trying to do is tear us apart by saying that we're trying to be better than, or we're trying to make you less than. And I don't think that's true. So when I say awaken or awoke versus being woke, those who are awake are not as ignorant to the fact that the governments are trying to control and manipulate everything that we do and everything we go through. But whenever you are woke, you don't understand that, and you just understand that every person of another color has to be racist. That's not exactly the way things work. And I don't know of a time since I've been alive where it has worked like that. We are a long way from where we used to be as far as racial tension and misunderstandings. And actually, we're backwards in a lot of ways, too. We didn't used to have this much a racial injustice in the country up until the last incident happened that started the spark up of the movement, which a lot of it, I think a lot of it was people were really focused on things being in lockdown, and a lot of tensions and emotions were high anyway. And I feel like it's the way that the media reported it, is to try to get a lot more emotion out of it. I'm not at all saying that police deserve to kill. I absolutely don't fucking believe that. I used to actually go to school to be a police officer, and after so much bullshit started happening and went crazy, I just dropped out. Can't do it, man. I'm not gonna be part of a system that doesn't jive well for the peeps on the bottom. I'm all about that life and the peace and the liberty and the love and the happiness and the sharing things and feeling like you belong and feeling humanity, man, and the love for all humans and the energies and the vibes. I'm all about that. I fucking love it. But the problem is woke people fucking hate it. They cannot stand kumbaya. They cannot stand people being happy, or white people being with black people, or black people being with white people. They absolutely freaking hate it. And I don't understand, because whenever it all boils down at the end of the day, we all have to have each other. We have to have each other. If you want change, you have to accept the views of the minority and the majority, and that's America. And if you can't, then I think you need to educate them and fix them, as far as their misinformations, and help people understand. For example, the mainstream media is a piece of shit. Mainstream media pushes these false narratives all the time. But I feel like during the coronavirus lockdown, the media saw an advantage to go ahead and hype people up again, and they have successfully. So now it's like we've forgotten everything that we've learned, all the work we've done together, all the different things we try to do as humans, and all the humanity we try to keep within one another. And now we've lost it all. Now it's like we're all back on the fence, and we're all standoffish, and we can't support one side or the other, and we're looking out for our own instead of everybody else. And our general demeanor has changed from being helpful humans and helping each other care about one another for the virus and all this, and now it's racial wars, man. It's the woke movement. And then on episode 1, I've talked about this already. Woke movement is exactly like the Nazi brown shirts, in my personal opinion, because they basically used people's fear against them. And once they could accomplish, finding what you feared, then it was very simple to amplify it and to show little examples of it. Police brutality being the biggest. The media tried to flex on police brutality, not just for Black Americans, but everybody, for a long time. Now we're at a point in this country to where we can't trust our police. We're at a point in this country we can't trust our own color. We're at a point in this country where we can't trust other colors. That's the media controlling us, so that we focus on listening to them. And because if we're divided, whether it be politically, religiously, socially, whatever it may be, we can't bond and bind to make action for the best of us, because we're only going to be considered worried about the rest of us, or ourselves, or our people, not the rest of everybody else. Because if they're being shitty and hateful and shooting shots across the bow, why are we worried about them anyway? Man, woke culture is, and that's what it is. Anything that preaches, and whether this is a religion, whether this is an influencer, whoever, anybody that preaches injustice, anybody that preaches separation and division, and anybody that separates a vast majority. I mean, there's a few groups of people I think any of us can agree need to have some consideration when it comes to these things. But for the vast majority, if you don't see all humans as being necessary, not only to one another's success, but to the world itself, you are part of the problem. If you feel because your skin color is one way or another, and you feel you're a supremacist, if you feel that your words are more important, if you feel your ideas are more important, you're part of the problem. We're all here together. We all have to work things into reality. We all have to go back and forth to understand what is and isn't right. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, I think, in different views. Me as a white man, I may not understand everything a black man thinks. Vice versa. Somebody as a black man won't understand everything me as a white man thinks. I got shut down by a woke crowd of motherfuckers here where I'm at. Um, Accused me of everything from a boogaloo boy to a proud boy to a white supremacist leader to a Klan chapter leader in my part of Missouri. Slammed me, went on my Facebook and found pictures of me and old friends and posted them out. Pictures of my vehicle, my tattoos. I mean, you name it. They went through and they found everything and they just put it out there. I'm going to give you the hint as to why they did that. They fear what they can't control. And that's the exact same with the media. Everybody fears what they cannot control, folks. That is the woke movement. Awake people cannot be controlled because they are smart enough to understand the hypocrisy that's going on. They can see the left and right. They're the people like Tyler Zed who can look and say, oh, well, fuck, 1 month ago you said this. Now here we are a month later and you're saying something totally different. You're fucking going on a different side of the fence just to follow, what you want to do for yourself. That is, that's the cancer in this world. The cancer. It is media. Media itself is the cancer because that is the tool by the elitists that's used to continue to brainwash people and to continue to move forward and for them to put whatever into our heads that they want to. And the woke people are the ones that control that because they want to keep pushing the narrative that we can't be together. We can't help one another. None of these woke people, whenever they accuse me of this, that, and the other, nobody's ever, to this day, offered a shred of evidence. And I say it now on episode number 3. If you have this, send me a proof. Send me a picture. Send me a form. Send me a signature. Send me a video, an audio recording, anything. Anything that justifies me being a Klan leader, me being a Nazi, me being, hateful or making any people of any kind of different color or religion or sexual preference uncomfortable. Because I'm going to hate to break it to you. You will not find it. You're only going to find the people that jump on the bandwagon. Oh, I know so-and-so. I've been around so-and-so. They've said shit that makes me real uncomfortable. Shut the fuck up. All you people want is to be accepted. The problem is, if you were yourselves and not a piece of shit fake motherfucker like Barbie's tits, you would probably be accepted by everybody. But you're not, because you just want to follow the movement. You want to follow the movement, follow the fame, follow the fortune, follow the this, follow the that. Everybody wants to be accepted. Oh, I can't stand the fact somebody may not like me, so I'm going to go join this movement so I can be accepted. And then in the midst of that, I'm going to mow down everybody else of any other belief in the way because they don't accept what I believe. So if you don't accept me, you become an enemy and you will be destroyed. Welcome to the woke fucking movement. And that's the way we should run this country, isn't it? The greatest country in the world, and we're supposed to sit here and roll on the fact if you don't listen to what I say and you don't agree, you're part of the problem. You deserve a bullet in the back of the head. Has anybody researched Stalin or Adolf Hitler? Can anybody let these people know what path we're going on? Let them know that all these different concentration camps in the United States, which if you don't think we have any, you need to look up the declassified army documents because they most certainly are. And they are everywhere, and there are plans, and it's all legitimate. I'm not going to get into it. Look it up yourselves. That's a whole nother topic we're going to get too far off of. All these things have been prepared, guys. They didn't want us together. We actually started working together. Then we had to get farther apart. Now we're farther apart. Now we do not see eye to eye anymore. Let me ask you guys, what sense does it make? What sense does it make all of a sudden that we can no longer trust each other? Why can't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we all stand side by side to work together? That's because nobody wants to accept other people's differences and realize that everybody looks at something in a different light. Everybody looks at something differently. Nobody has the right to control anybody else. And even though you want to control every single person, it's not the reality. So I pray to God that people start waking up sooner than later and they realize what kind of a mess we're in. Because if they don't, man, we're going to continue to be led by our balls and by our lips everywhere we go and be tortured whenever we don't do exactly what they want us to do. And that's where we're at, guys. We're at a point we have to wake up and we have to realize, oh God, black people aren't evil. White people aren't evil. If me as a white person wants to go and protest police brutality, fucking let me. It's my First Amendment right. Likewise, if you want to go and you want to protest police empowerment based off of the name of Black Lives Matter or whatever organization, I'm not going to stop you. You don't need what was it? Black permission is what they called it for me. You don't have black permission, so you can't go do this protest, is what I was told. There is no such thing as white permission or black permission. You're a free human. Do what you want. Stop living a victim. White people, shut the fuck up. Everybody hates us right now. Who the fuck cares? Welcome to it. We're going to be fine. I'm not going to sit there and commit suicide or ruin my life over the fact not everybody likes me. Fucking go eat a hose ass. I don't care, man. It's not a big thing to me. But what I do care about is this country cannot fall down to this culture of we cannot accept each other. Because we're going into a third world mindset when we no longer support one another, when we're back into racism. White people, we are not the problem. Black people, you are not the problem. Minorities, you are not the problem. The media and the division is the problem.
Chris will be right back. He's, having some issues.
You're about to listen to ChrisDaGoat's podcast. Now I'm just some random girl he hired off Fiverr, and from what I gather, he is f***ing weird. Enjoy!
Welcome back, everybody. This is ChrisDaGoat. You are listening to The Goat Man Show. Today's episode has been all about what it means to be woke versus awaken. So I think everybody kind of knows my stance on it. I don't hate those of you that are woke, but I definitely think those of you that are on the very, very extreme of demanding that people see what you see and accept what you have created are sadly misinformed on how the world works. You don't have the right, nor the ability, or the money, or reach, or influence to demand any person or group or entity feels or sees or accepts you as you. Unfortunately, that is not guaranteed, nor is that possible. Not every person is going to be accepted, which is why we've had genocides. Not every religion is going to be accepted, which is why we've had genocides. Not every person is going to be looked at as an equal, which is why we've had slavery and human trafficking and abuse and rape and murder and kidnappings. There's so many things in this world that on a real note, we can't change systematically by preaching injustice. We have to physically go and break up the evils from underground organizations to different ways of trade to criminal enterprises where they do all these different things, as far as child trafficking, human trafficking, organ harvesting, so on and so forth. When we look at the significant amount of issues that are in this country, but also in the world, I think we realize that our problems that we are creating, if a white person wears a sombrero or if somebody wears a poncho, for example, I think we're making mountains out of molehills when there are so many of these examples that I've just listed that are legitimate, real issues, not just here in America, but across the world we could be focused on. I do think there is a large police problem. I don't think we need to defund them because we have to have them. But I do feel that there needs to be a retraining. Again, I've told you, I've gone to school to be an officer. There's not much training to it. It is decent training, but there are way better training programs across the world for other countries and other organizations. I don't feel that we are prime in anything. I feel that we are, just kind of here anymore. We're not the pride of what we used to be because we're no longer America the Great. We're America the Racist, or America the Intolerant, or America the Appropriation. How can you sit there and say Americans are doing, cultural appropriation when we are literally supposed to be the melting pot of the world? That's the whole point. I love nothing more than dining on fine, well, I shouldn't say fine. My idea of fine cuisine is a Japanese steakhouse. I love eating different foods from different parts of the world. America is one of the only places you'll find so many different mixes. I've also been to Amsterdam in Germany, and there is, an eclectic mix of food there, but not like here. Here we have Indian cuisine, we have Native American cuisine, we have our take on American, we have German, we have Turkish, we have everything. I mean, literally, there's so many different places, and I'm trying to think of more of the non-popular, like pizza, spaghetti, yada yada. Um, there's so many amazing things that come with it. So many amazing people in beautiful cultures, beautiful arts, fabrics, spices. I mean, people, they don't really appreciate a lot of the stuff that people of different cultures that they may not appreciate it brought to them. And it's ignorant because without all these different things, we wouldn't be the country that we are. We wouldn't have the views that we have or the understandings that we do. I think a lot of the reason why a lot of and I do feel a lot of Americans, most of them are tolerant. They're not racist. They're not hateful. They're not shitty. That's just the way the media is trying to manipulate us all. So we automatically agree with it. So then instantly you weren't racist, but now you are because somebody else is racist. So you're anti-racist or you're woke. So now you're either on one side that you hate everybody or you're on the other side where you're demanding that everybody, be together and you accept all the pronouns and stuff. That's where we're at in this world, in my personal opinion. And we got to get away from that. We are all human. You have the right to feel whatever. If you want to have pronouns and you want to ask people what your pronouns, oh yeah, that's what I was getting on earlier when I went rambling. There's a kids show, and the kid said, well, first let me ask you, what do you identify as and what are your pronouns? I have never had anybody ask me that. Out of all these people that say that they should, I've never had anybody ask me what my pronouns now or how I identify myself. I understand that you want to not offend everybody, and we're at such a high level of political correctness, but you can't mandate that every person go and start asking these things and then be like, oh, well, what does it do to you? Does it hurt you? Does it take time out of your day? Well, the problem is you're trying to change the world and you're trying to change society and you're demanding that people do what you feel makes you comfortable. What would make me comfortable is people not telling me what to do, but I'm never going to have that freedom. So fuck you and your demand. You can request all you would like. And yes, I would do as a decent human being, I would do what I could to make you feel comfortable because I'm not an asshole that makes, a jolly off of trying to piss people off or trying to hurt them or trying to be the opposite of what they need. That's not in me. But for a lot of people, it is. But I'm not going to demand that if you look a certain way, you cover up, or if you smell a certain way, you have to stay away from me, or if you sound a certain way, you're not allowed to talk around me. I don't have any control over other humans, and the woke movement wants to control how we say things, how we introduce ourselves, how we communicate, talk, look, feel, smell, all these things, and we can't do that. I mean, you can't control humanity. People here especially have free will, and I feel personally God gave us free will. So you can make requests and we can try to, again, that's where the negotiation and working together stuff comes. We can work together, but we have to come with a resolve with you agreeing with what I'm agreeing with, not you demanding and me demanding. Being awakened means you understand that. You can see that just because somebody gets upset, it doesn't mean something needs to change. But you also can't demand that things change because something upsets you. You can't demand things be different because it upsets you. Because if in this world, every time somebody upset us, we shut it down, the world would quit revolving. That's the reality to it. So we need to start looking at things in a reality, in a real way, instead of just demanding that people continuously, just, oh, well, you have to do this because it would make me comfortable or it would make them comfortable. There's not everything, it's not always going to happen that way. We're just on our own level as humans, and we have to stay on our level, and we have to quit trying to create more levels and more realities and more conscious beings around ourselves. It's like we're trying to manipulate and multiply in such a way that we can't get a grasp on our problems, and I don't feel that that's necessarily the way that's going to fix it. Oh, here's interesting. Okay, so writing on consumer tensions, corporations became activists fighting for injustice. Nike's social injustice campaign featuring Colin Kaepernick, Pepsi's short-lived advertisement featuring Kendall Jenner, and Gillette's take on toxic masculinity, or amongst the most talked about examples. But brands without a clear moral purpose were perceiving by an increasingly cynical public as inauthentic, lecturing in morality but not practicing what they preached. This spawned the meme "Get woke, go broke." On the one hand, corporations triggered public debate on key issues. On the other hand, they damaged the woke concept. Exactly. Oh, look at that. When Pepsi and Nike and McDonald's and all these million to billion to trillion dollar industries, fucking companies and just corporate giants, they hop on the bandwagon. That's how you got to know that it's fucked. And the news hops on it. That's how you got to know it's fucked. All right, I'm just going to speak it out there for you guys, all right? And this is my honest to God opinion, and I'm shutting the episode down a little bit early off of it. After I get done with this ramble, we're done. We're over today. Thank you so much for listening. But here's what I truly believe. In the reality of it, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're gay. It doesn't matter if you're lesbian. It doesn't matter if you're transgender. It doesn't matter if you're transvestite. It doesn't matter if whatever you put inside yourself, whatever you prefer, whatever you don't prefer, whatever you're comfortable talking about or not talking about. None of that matters. It's a mindset problem. The mindset that you are not strong enough to make it as yourself without being accepted by everybody around you. And that's the problem. We as humans look for acceptance. But how often do we actually find it? Not very often. So I feel the easiest way to survival is not demanding people change, not demanding the world change. Imagine that. You're trying to get the whole world to change. We can't even solve global cooling or warming. We can't solve global hunger. We can't solve poverty. We can't solve racism. Okay? So what makes you think you're going to make the whole world feel the same way you feel? It's not going to happen, unfortunately. But what you can do, and this is likely going to be one of the most shitty things I say to a lot of people, you have to change yourself. You have to change your mindset. You have to realize the whole world is never going to acknowledge you. Okay? You can have dark pigments. You can have a limp. You can be shorter than everybody, taller than everybody. You could have a back surgery. You could have a physical abnormality. And you are immediately going to be judged by so many different people that look at you. You can have tattoos voluntarily, and you're going to be judged by so many people looking at you. You will never change how people perceive you, no matter what it is you do, no matter how upstanding citizen you are, no matter what. Somebody is always going to find something just off of how you look, the color of your skin, your hairstyle. It doesn't matter. They will find something. And when they do, they're going to tear you down because they are insecure about themselves. And they don't understand the world themselves because they're probably woke on their own accord. And they're not going to give you the time of day for you to explain yourself because you're not what they expect. You're not what they want to see. So they demand you change. You can't ask for that, you know? That's the irony there. Is that's just everybody, that's how everybody looks at each other. It's, oh God, you're not what I expected. You need to go away. You're fucking nasty. Or, oh, you're weird. I don't want to ask about it. I'm just going to say you worship Satan. You need to get the fuck away. That's the closed-mindedness that we're in. We have to have dialogue, and we have to accept ourselves, okay? I'm happy being a white man with tattoos all over the place. That's a little crude and socially unacceptable and hated by people of color in my local area in the woke movement because they consider me racist because I tried to go and protest the police department. Now I'm back bigger than ever on multiple platforms, speaking the truth, talking out against them, and talking out against the woke movement in general, and trying to give you guys a subjective hippie love piece off of it. Because I accepted myself. And I know I'm not a Nazi. I know I'm not a piece of shit like these people. I know I'm not going to go around and accuse anybody of something they haven't done and try to give their whole life story and lie and say I have expert freaking testimonials to what it is. I'm not that big of a shit person. I'm not so insecure that I have to eliminate everybody around me to feel that way. But that's what it is. Moral security. You have to be content with yourself. Make yourself happy. Because then, no matter if somebody accepts you or not, you're going to feel a lot better when people do accept you, because they can sense that confidence and they understand what's going on, and they're listening to somebody that inspires them, that discusses all these things. Or you can go on the opposite side of it and continue to be like these woke folks and not care and demand that things get changed, and then live in a constant world of depression, basically, because you want everything to change so much, but it's never going to, because that's not how the world works. The world doesn't do what you want it to do. The world does what we want it to do. And what we want it to do is to continue on forward and to continue as it needs to, where we can all live in unity and we can all live in peace. But for us to do that, we have to accept ourselves. We have to accept we can't change everybody else. We have to not get angry when we can't change everybody else. And we have to start fixing everything around us how we can. Start by the damage you've done to somebody. If you know somebody that's a transvestite or transgender, or maybe just something as simple as, has a speech impediment, if you've ever made them uncomfortable, I think that one of the biggest steps that we could all do is go to the people that you feel bad about, that you have at some point in your life made fun of or made feel self-conscious, and fix that damage you've done, because that may be a huge step. Just because you may not see through the same eyesight as somebody else doesn't mean you don't impact them for the rest of their lives. You will. And we should all start by fixing the small things we know for sure we have done. And then that will give us a new take on ourselves. And then I feel we wouldn't be as selfish anymore, and we would be more willing to see the happiness of those around us. Because we're still, and that's the whole thing, is selfishness. We're so worried about ourselves, but we need to be worried about everybody else. Thank you guys so much for listening. I think we're going to leave it there for today. So again, woke versus awake. Please, for the love of God, turn off the TV. Be awake. Be awake to the fact the world sucks. The world is shit. Don't be woke because you cannot demand that everybody change because it makes you offended. That's not how the world works. It hasn't today. It won't tomorrow. And it sure as fuck didn't yesterday. So everybody needs to join together and actually do positive, progressive change. That's the only way things are going to get done. Take care of yourself. Love your neighbors and your friends. Take care of your friends and everybody else that you may have come in contact with that you have hurt. Take care of them. Make those bonds tight again. Once you understand what it feels like to make somebody smile, you will never want to make somebody frown and hurt again. Thank you guys so much. Much love and respect to all of you. Hope to see you on episode 4. Be sure to check out anchor.fm/The Goatman Show. That way you can come on, leave me live voice messages. I can listen to them, potentially even put them in the next episode, and we can rock out with that. Also, if you're looking for that social media fix, Twitter, we are on Twitter either at ChrisDaGoat or The Goatman Show, the same as Instagram and Parler. Thank you guys so much. Much love. It's always fun to come on here and kind of discuss things. I'm not a hateful guy. I'm not a shitty guy. I don't think that I'm always right, but I think that there's a lot of people who think this stuff and don't say it because they're afraid of getting canceled. They're afraid of the woke movement or cancel culture. And I've already gone through it, so there's nothing more they can do to me. Bring it on. Shut me down on all my platforms. I'll be impressed. Love you all so much. Thank you so much for listening to all my supporters, donors, and all of our moving partners going forward. Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you soon. This is ChrisDaGoat. You've been listening to The Goatman Show.
That's all, folks. Thanks for listening to The Goatman Show with ChrisDaGoat. Subscribe and leave a review if you'd be so inclined. Until next time.
ChrisDaGoat, he has a podcast, yeah. ChrisDaGoat, it's called The Goatman Show. He's a Capricorn hippie, banjo-loving hillbilly. He lives in